this committee as well. So my aim is to join us at the hip, so the decision making is collaborative and you know what's going on in Jewish Care. There'll be an email that comes out this afternoon with your EOI, so if you're interested, by all means I encourage you to move it in. So just 2 groups. But this is where it gets messy. I've tried to simplify it for you. So what does governance look like at Jewish Care? So we have the foundation board that manages our bequests, our investments. There's about $65 million sitting in the foundation right now. That's very public, it's in our annual reports. That's all invested. So when people say, what's going on in Jewish Care, we always say if you want Jewish Care to be around the next 85 years, we need to grow our corpus, which is our investments, so we don't heavily rely on government funding and we can meet the community needs. We're very, very fortunate to have a very good foundation and we need to keep it that way. Just so you know, we pull 4% from that foundation every single year to fund the gap of our non-revenue areas of Jewish Care. So it actually does, 4%'s a lot when we pull from it. We have people from the Jewish Care board that sit on that foundation, and we have people with a financial background who also sit on that foundation. There's a board subcommittees you may not have been aware of. So there's an innovation committee, there's a risk and audit committee, there's also a clinical risk committee, and there's a remuneration and allocations committee. Different people from the board sit on those committees. They meet quarterly if required. And then I've spoken about the job at the Burgess Centre. I want to take you down to the last 2 boxes. These are important for you to understand. So the Clinical Advisory Committee is a legislative committee by the federal government, in particular for aged care. We have to have it, we don't have a choice. We had a clinical committee a while back that Dr. Johnny chaired. We want to merge these, so we've just got one, and Ben will be facilitating what that looks like. Underneath that, though, we want action groups to actually put into place what we do in regards to quality and care. So Ben is also working through with the divisions on what that looks like. So the accountability is with you, and it's also with the advisory committee, who must report back to the board on what's going on in Jewish Care. The Consumer Advisory Committees, the first one that we'll have established will be in aged care. It's legislated, it must have consumer voice on it, it must have specialists on it, and they must produce 2 reports a year to the board, unvetted. I get to see them, I don't get to change them. Part of that is informing the board about the quality of care we're providing, how we're providing the care, what needs to change, good and bad. Again, it's come out of the Aged Care Commission, and we have to have it at least established by 1 December. So Bronwyn's working through that in conjunction with Delete about who should sit on it. It's important we get the right voices. If I'm very frank with you, if we get the wrong voices, sometimes they're the loudest but actually don't have any impact. So we want people who are considered in their viewpoints so we can actually make it worthwhile. We've got to have them, so we might as well make them worthwhile. They will help inform our service delivery. So that's a lot of information. If you've got any questions, you can talk to us afterwards. I suppose the next step for me is to come back to you probably in November to talk about any other proposed changes. To give you an update on our strategic priorities, the child and family split has happened. That was part of our priorities, which is great. The client voice was one of our priorities. That's now on the move. Our service delivery review is, I would say, 3/4 of the way through that process. Emma's doing some great work in the pathways to success. So you'll all have KPIs by the end of the year, and she's working through that template now. I'll have them, the SEC will have them, and it'll cascade down, which is great. And Ben's working through risk incident training for you, trying to make it least complicated for you than it was. And also our audit program, especially for NDIS, because we have been told we'll be audited in the first 3 months of next year. So there's a whole process that sits behind that. Other than that, we are moving. It's exciting, we're moved. So grab onto that positive energy, keep it going. We've got some really good partnerships happening. I was at with Rabbi Slavon at his kitchen the other day. That was really interesting, to say the least, and I really invite you to go over and have 3 hours with the group over there. It was really, really good. Jewish House have just employed a mental health nurse to start dealing with their homelessness clients. And COA transition is almost finished. So most of the programs will go across to the Burgess Centre. They'll continue Meals on Wheels and a couple of programs, but that's it. So once, I think it's the 1st of October we're looking at, the social programs they were delivering are now being delivered in the Burgess Centre, and the social work element is either being delivered in the Burgess Centre or with us upstairs. So that's done, and that's been, I'm told, many years in the making. It's happened, it's done. We move on. What happens over there, we don't know yet in regards to the facility. That's all. So thank you for your patience. And any burning questions, you know how to reach me. There's also the feedback QR code if you want to put it through there. But Shana Tova, anything?